each of you, whether it's Emma, Brian, Stephen, Josephine, you've all touched upon this notion of voice and how important it is that we empower the young people that are involved in this. And I think that it's a perfect segue really to start bringing in the young people that Josephine and Susanna have brought in from the Diana Award as our kind of youth people on the ground, as it were, our Youth Brains Trust. So I'd like to invite anyone of the Youth Brains Trust to kind of either turn your cams on or to mic up or whatever, because you've been patiently sitting here listening to academics and industry leaders talking about what they think are sort of like the key issues that you're facing, but now is your opportunity to have your voice and to tell us your experiences. So I don't know what would be easier, Josephine and Susanna, you know your young people better than I do. It might be more appropriate for you to introduce them and to kind of defer for discussion. How do you feel about that? How about I kind of hand the reins over to the Diana Award at this point?
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. Hi everyone from Youth Award. Nice to see you all. Maybe we can kind of just start with, I think it was really nice in the discussion previously, it comes up quite a lot in the discussions I've had as well, these kind of a double-edged coin. Is that the expression? There's definitely risks involved in online gaming, and we recognize that, we see it in our kind of data, but there are also these kind of positives in the community aspects. Maybe we could, from your perspective, Youth Board, if you've got personal experiences of those, or of kind of your peers, anything you kind of like to share on what you see are the risks, but also the potential rewards for this space. And don't forget to introduce yourselves and tell us who you are. Who wants to go first?
Should I start?
Paige.
Yeah.
Yeah, go on.
I definitely believe you've definitely got the benefits and the negatives for social media. And I think if I start with the negative, then I'll end on a positive note. So there's so much influence of social media. You can hit a wide range of people by simply pressing the send button. I think for me, being cyberbullied, it's so easy for someone to cyberbully you because, as I said before, you just need to press the send button and then it's reached me or whoever. And I think the regulations from experience, they're not strong enough to protect young people. People are allowed to send or say pretty much whatever they want. And there's a difference between freedom of speech and crossing that line of banter and bullying. And I think definitely it has a link to mental health as well. So I was questioning myself when the people that bullied me, I didn't know them in real life. So why did people that I didn't know have so much influence over what I was thinking? Why was I sort of in a bad mood all of the time for those 2 months over people I don't even know? Like, it makes no sense. But then if you turn to the positive side, the influence is huge. So you can empower young people by spreading your positive quotes. The Black Lives Matter movement was something quite recently that we went through. And just seeing all these people, the community of people working together to share the same positive message, I think was really nice to reflect on.
Can I just add something to that as well? I should introduce myself. I'm Isabel. I'm also on the Youth Board. And I think going more towards the gaming side of things as well. On a positive note, I've got friends who have made online friends through Discord and have found like communities of people that they sort of fit really well with, and that's all through like different games that they play together and live streams and like Twitch streams, and they've sort of found this mutual interest through gaming, which has really helped them sort of gain confidence in their day-to-day life. So I guess that's a big positive to gaming as well.
I add on to what Isabel said. So I think it was Paige said that like social media, it has like a massive impact on other people, and I think that there's more negatives to social media than there are positives. It's because mainly the people on it, they kind of like ruin it for people, and as much as people, like I think loads of people use social media to like voice their opinion and stuff, sometimes that can start like a lot of controversial comments and stuff like that. But I think that being on social media and social media platforms like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, all that kind of stuff, people sometimes use it in a bad way because they target people, and I don't think that they do enough for the young people. They just let them like do whatever they want, and they're allowed to say whatever they want, and there's no protection against it. So you can just target somebody whenever you want on social media, and people will just be like, oh, okay, that's fine. And there's you can obviously block them, but it's not really enough, because they can make spam accounts. There's not really nothing against it, so it just carries on.
To add on to what Lydia said, I'm close with someone who's like a really avid gamer, and what I noticed that over lockdown, they started spending like a lot of time gaming and like talking to people, and then suddenly he's he got very aggressive, and the only thing he was doing daily was gaming, and that really took over himself. Like I didn't recognize him, and I feel like gaming really is beneficial, but it's hard to break away from like the good people and the bad people. And then once you meet those bad people, it's so much easier to get influenced by them than the good people. So yeah.
I think there's such like a blurred line between people who present as good online and people who genuinely are good in real life. It's so easy to put a fake front on like any form of online media, like social media, like gaming profiles, anything along those lines. It's so easy to pretend to be nice and then find out that you're not a nice person in reality. And it's so easy to sort of get close to a person and then them completely switch because you don't know them. And I think that's something that you need to keep in mind when online. It's like, it might seem like a lovely person, but you don't actually know who's behind the screen quite a lot of the time. And it's, like I said, it's a blurred line between actually good and only presenting as good, really.
Jump in. No use to raise your hand.
One thing I've noticed with gaming is that gaming prevents academic success. So for example, instead of going home and doing homework or revision for tests and exams, I've seen that lots of people are talking about how they're going to spend their time gaming and doing that kind of stuff instead of spending the time, because at the end, education is what helps us achieve our careers and our goals. But a good point is that many of my friends, they feel more comfortable talking to people that they don't see face to face every day, because they're part of the LGBTQ community, but they don't feel comfortable talking that with friends that they see every day at school. So we'd rather talk with people outside which you don't see every day and create a new identity.
Ruchi said something about along the lines of gaming prevents academic success, and I disagree. I've got to admit, I think gaming to an extreme, if all you're doing every day is gaming, then admittedly, yes, you should probably focus a little bit on academics. But in the same respect, some people need that sort of escapism and need that sort of escape for a while in order to succeed academically. Because I know with me, I need some form of escapism in some way when I was revising for my GCSEs, for the pure reason that I would have over-revised and overhyped myself up for my GCSEs. So I needed that sort of escapism. So actually, I think if it's controlled and if you can sort of measure the time you're spending online, I don't think gaming sort of stops that academic success if you're aware that you're doing it.
Yeah. Just to add on to what Isabel said, the most attractive thing about gaming to me is the fact that you can have access to like billions of people, but in a good way. If you don't get like people around you and you're getting like severely bullied and all that stuff, there's a chance that out of those billions of people, there is someone who can relate to you or who can be a good friend to you. So like the opportunity of that over what's in reality around you is like way better and more attractive, especially if you don't have like a really good things in your life at the moment and stuff like that.
So one thing that I'm really curious about is what kind of games you're all playing at the moment. What sort of games? I mean, I know that we talked about Minecraft yesterday with quite younger people, but I'm assuming that some of you are in your early teens to mid-teens, maybe. Correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe a little bit younger. But what sort of games do you play at the moment? Anyone could jump in at any point.
I'm a sucker for Minecraft, but I think that's because I grew up playing Minecraft. I was sort of the generation that Minecraft came in, and then I sort of have grown up playing Minecraft. So I'm a big sucker for Minecraft and playing it with my friends. But also, I have a PS4, and I'm quite a big fan of like story-driven games. Like my favorite game of all time is Detroit Become Human, for the pure reason that that game is just immense, really, for the amount of options you have. I don't know about. I know it's an older game, so I don't know whether other people on the youth board would have played it.
Well, I don't personally play, but I know that my little brother does, and he's not really teenager age, he's more, younger age, but he plays Fortnite, and I probably play a little bit of Roblox, so they're quite newer games. I know Roblox is probably quite old, but Fortnite's one of the newer ones, and I know it was like in the news a lot for like, making kids aggressive and stuff like that, so, that's one of the bigger ones, the bigger games. I'm not really a gamer, so I don't really know much about gaming, but I know that Fortnite's one of them, and Roblox is another one, and Minecraft obviously, so yeah.
I have to admit, I'm not a gamer. However, sometimes occasionally I do play Roblox with my little brother, just to keep an eye on if he's interacting with strangers and risks online. But I know that each day he's getting more involved in games, and that's reducing the time he spends with us and his family, which I think is another negative effect that gaming and video games can have.
I have a question as well. I think. Go on, Paige. No, yeah.
Are you sure? Like, I don't mind waiting a sec. I was gonna say, I'm again probably not much of a gamer as other people, but I would happily sit for hours and play, sort of like an online game with either my friends or my family or anything like that. And it varies. There's not a specific game that I would sit and play. But touching on the thing I think Isabel was saying before, there's not enough attention brought to gaming in terms of like the positive aspects. It's an escape for so many people. And even if yourselves don't like gaming, because I'm not a gaming fan either, but for other people, that's their only escape. That's their only form of talking to like-minded individuals who understand them. And what's the difference between someone going out and playing football and sitting in the game? Obviously, yes, football's got the physical aspects, they're outside, but that's their physical well-being. What about their mental well-being? And gaming could be that form of improving their mental well-being.
So for me, I do quite a bit of gaming. I also do a fair bit of streaming, and for me, I kind of have like the particular games I kind of play. So once a week, I'm part of a D&D community, which is Dungeons and Dragons for those who don't know, and it's really nice to kind of just interact with that group, and then just speak to them through Discord and things like that, because it gives you that opportunity to just socialize and just genuinely have a fun time and quite literally escape to a random reality that you are making yourself, which for me is a really nice escape.
I agree, because like obviously the social aspect of gaming, obviously again I'm not a gamer, but I think that it helps with people's again over lockdown, it helped with them getting away from obviously you were sitting inside 24 hours a day with your family. Sometimes for some people, especially if they're not really good at communicating with other people, that was kind of an escape. And yeah, it was, especially in lockdown, it was really, really good for them to because obviously you can't go outside a lot, and some people don't even have gardens, so gaming again was something that would keep them occupied, and something that would again help with their mental well-being, which was really, really good, and probably stopped a lot of children, especially primary school children, going absolutely insane.
It's funny actually, because me and my mum had a discussion, because I'm in year 11, so I've just finished school and I've just finished my GCSEs. And me and my mum had a discussion when lockdown was going on about how she thought I would have reacted when I was younger. And her first reaction was, I think I would have been buying you a new console. And because I've grown up sort of playing games, and I've always had an Xbox. I've only recently got a PlayStation. I'm new to the whole PlayStation thing, but I've always grown up with an Xbox. And my mum was like, I think I would have been buying you a console because I'm quite a high academic as well. Not to toot my own horn or whatever. But I've always been quite a high academic, and so she was like, if you'd been younger, I think you would have been burning through the work set and I would have got you a console of some kind. And I think my mum appreciates gaming for the stories that can be told through it. And I think she doesn't, I love my mum for it because I don't think she sees it as this sort of big bad thing. I think she sees it as quite a good thing, which it can be. And I think if you see, it frustrates me because I think a lot of the media shows gaming in such a negative light. It shows it as this like disease that's taking the children, and children never see their family and they're all failing school because of this gaming. And I think if you look at it in a much more positive light, it's an amazing escapism and it's an amazing sort of new form of storytelling. And like going back to Detroit Become Human, because that's my favourite game. That's a story. It's a very, very heavily story-driven game, and I think the form of storytelling that they were able to show in that is sort of unexplored, I guess. If it hadn't been for gaming, it's not really a mode of storytelling you can get through film or through a book, other than like a choose-your-own-adventure book. But I think that's the beauty of gaming sometimes, in terms of like the stories that can be told through it and the escapism that can be given to people because of it.
It's really interesting that you, the points that you're bringing up, Isabel, because when you started talking about the media discourse, that's something that I'd like to get all of your perspectives on as young people who have either finished school or are going through school. Certainly when I was your age, video games that were not in their infancy necessarily, but they were still quite new, and there was a lot of discourse around video games are going to make people violent or they're going to increase your social isolation and so on, like that very early sort of stuff. And I know that you're saying just now, Isabel, that at least in the media that's still something that you're seeing as a young person. But what was your experience in terms of your learning environments in school? How much does school prepare you for things like video game addiction or I don't know how many of you watch Twitch or live streaming online. I know that Susanna and Josephine have kind of alluded to live streaming and whatnot, but how much kind of preparation are you given as young students in school about I guess the perils or the opportunities, the risks and the benefits of video games and gaming? Again, to not just you, Isabel, but to all of you.
I think for like me, it was a bit different. Like Isabel, I'm year 11. I've just finished school doing all my exams. And they don't really go over either the benefits or the negatives of social media. They obviously do the cyberbullying thing because we have the Diana Award program in our school, but they don't really allude to the positives. It's seen as like a bad thing, I would say. There's a lot of stigma attached to gaming. But for me, as a female who did IT as a BTEC for my GCSE, in a room full of boys, I was the only girl doing it. And they were like, oh, she's going to fail. She's a female. She doesn't know how to game. She doesn't know her way around the computer. I came out with the highest grades out of all of these boys with my level 2 distinction star. And I was like, look at me. I know how to work my way around a computer. But there's like so much stigma attached to the gender roles as well surrounding the gaming, that the boys can do better at games. And I don't think that's necessarily true, as I showed with like my BTEC IT. But I think school doesn't bring enough light to the positive sides and how it is an escape for many people, which ultimately improves their mental well-being.
Can I just want to add something. I went to an all-girls school, so I guess I have a very different perspective on gaming because it wasn't talked about. It went on the assumption that girls don't game, and it went on the assumption, like, I don't think we were ever other than like cyberbullying and online, obviously like social media and online safety, I don't think we ever really went into like gaming safety, and like I think it just ran on the assumption that people didn't game, which I think is infuriating, I've got to admit. And I think I remember having a conversation with one of my teachers about it, and she was like, "Oh, but it wouldn't really be that applicable." And it's like, it would though, because everybody plays some sort of game, and most of the time, in some respect, they're online. And it's like we're growing up where like I know a lot of my friends watch Twitch, and that's sort of been an incentive for them to start gaming. And it's like you need to have those conversations about like online safety and all that kind of things in the respect of gaming as well, for the pure reason that it's becoming more popular. Even in games like Minecraft and stuff like that, you can still play online, and that safety is still applicable.
Adding on to what Isabel said about Twitch, I think that it was like a way for people to just, they could communicate with other people without having to like, again, go to their house, because obviously that was not allowed because of coronavirus. So going to people's, virtual houses and, interacting with them is probably one of the positives of gaming. I mean, in my school, we don't go over the positives or negatives of gaming. We just said that, be careful on the internet, don't give away your stuff to some random person on the internet, which obviously in secondary school you probably wouldn't expect people to do, but probably a few of them probably would. But no, it isn't said a lot in our school, but I do think that there are lots of, again, positives and negatives. But yeah, again, Twitch, it was, a very good way for people to communicate and obviously keep like their social behaviour stable over like the period that we weren't allowed to even go outside of our houses.
I've noticed Adam was raising his hand before. If you wanted to chime in, Adam.
Yeah, I'd like to add something. I think in terms of the gender disparity that was talked about when it comes to gaming and especially IT and computer science, I think there is intrinsically a gender disparity within the field of computer science and gaming, because it's been seen intrinsically as a male subject. In my computer science class for A level, for example, we had one female, and then she just left the course, and for the latter part of the course, I mean, for the most part of it, it's been all boys. And I think that the same problem is occurring in gaming, because not many people really talk about gaming. I mean, it's mainly the boys who talk about gaming and stuff, and I think that does have an impact. I think gender disparity does have an impact on gaming in general, and how there's sort of a reluctance to talk about gaming, especially within schools.
Okay. Harmon, you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, in terms of like gender and then gaming, like in general, there's when it comes to opportunities for females, it's always a program that goes for females only. They don't include it in their normal program, and that's like the main issue. It's like you're making space for girls and focus on their development, which is great, but you need to include girls in the actual program itself. Like you can't be separating girls and doing it for them only, because then you're just kind of making the issue worse. And I feel like that's the same with like careers in IT in general and gaming and the actual industry.
So could I just add on to that? I both agree and disagree with that. I agree in the fact that, overall everybody should kind of be included into kind of one group. It shouldn't have a gender attached to, this is specifically for, say, females to go into to try this. However, I also disagree in the sense that it's really good, especially when it's coming up to things like STEM activities and getting females involved with engineering and things like that. Quite often it is necessary to have those specific kind of courses and say this is literally for those who are trying to develop their kind of understanding of these, to try and start getting people of different backgrounds and everybody involved to that, and kind of narrow down the stereotypes and things like that. And also going back to kind of the socializing thing as well, it's for me, you know, going back to it being really helpful for being a socializing thing in the sense that my parents were both key workers and I didn't at the time have a phone. So for me, the only access I had was my friends literally on my laptop. So for me, gaming there was a really nice use of being able to actually still have the ability to socialize. And in my school, I find that gaming's talked about a lot. It's really encouraged. We literally had a Minecraft and a FIFA club, which we'd run twice a week for each. And then we'd also have FIFA tournaments, which everybody across all year groups could get involved in, which was really nice.
Lovely. So, someone wanted to, I think I heard a ping, someone wanted to join in.
I have a question, if I may, guys. I was curious because you've touched on so many really important issues around LGBTQ plus safe spaces. You've mentioned mental health and almost gamefulness aspect, as well as isolation and family problems. So I was curious what maybe activities, initiatives or resources have you seen, or do you think that you need to support in this space? Go for it.
I know for me, admittedly I pay for it, but I'm a part of a fan club for a band called Cave Town, but I'm a part of a fan club forum, and the space, and that was on Discord, and I'm on another couple of servers on Discord, and the space that's been created and is amazing, to be fair. And like he does events every once in a while where he'll come online and play games with his fans and all this, and it's like the community that's been created within that has been really good. And I think Discord servers, if they're monitored, and I know that he's got mods on it, so everything's monitored and it's all like safe and everyone's happy on it, but I know it's like the space that's then been created has been amazing, and I felt really safe on there. And yeah, so I think Discord's can be amazing for that as well.
I don't know if this counts, so I'm hoping it is necessary in some way. But if you're talking about the protection of the young people, again, I'm not much of a gamer, so I'm going to hint on the social media sort of side. A huge platform at the moment, and has been for a while, is TikTok. And when it was first introduced, there was nowhere near enough regulations to protect young people on it. People were posting videos, rarely being moderated, and young people, like from 8 years old, were seeing these videos that were really distressing, and they couldn't do anything to stop it. They're scrolling, the video's there, it's in front of them, they're intrigued, they're a young person. But now I've realised that they've got these coverings at the start of most of them, so saying almost like a trigger warning. So like, this video will contain this, do you still want to watch it? And you can say yes or no. But again, I'm not sure what else they could do, so I don't really have a suggestion. But if you're a young person, most of the time you're intrigued, oh, it contains this, I'm going to press it. I might not necessarily want to see the video, but I'm going to press it anyway. And again, it just links up things. So I think, as Isabel said, if you have the moderation and people looking over these things thinking, will someone want to watch this video, then that would definitely help keep the space a little safer.
Do you think things like
I agree. Sorry. I agree and I disagree, because going on from TikTok and stuff, they are doing a lot, because I'm obviously on TikTok. I don't really do much on it, but you know, it's still, I don't think they're still not doing enough to help young people. They're obviously getting rid of accounts currently that are under the age of, I think it's 10 or 12, because I know a lot of people that are underage got their accounts, deleted by TikTok, and then obviously they haven't got them back because they're obviously too young. And they are doing like, because I'm under 18, they've obviously taken off, like, people can't share your videos to certain platforms, which I think is good. They've developed in that, but they still haven't got rid of people just constantly going onto it and they're basically just trolling each other. It's still a target place. They don't go on Instagram because obviously they know it's going to get removed, but they go on TikTok because they know TikTok will let them get away with it if they put it as something that it's not, which I think is kind of like alarming, because people are just going on there and they're trolling people left, right and centre without any people stopping them, because TikTok doesn't know how to stop them, because there are like billions of users on TikTok and people can fake their age and all that, and people can go on and still, you know, post stuff and post inappropriate stuff and then get away with it and, you know, be anonymous, and children under the age of, you know, 12 are seeing this, and, you know, as much as the parents, you know, point to, like, you know, stop them watching them, there's still not enough being done, I don't think, on TikTok's side to stop people posting inappropriate content. I mean, it obviously is a bit of banter, but it's not funny to some people and it's kind of inappropriate as well.
So on platforms like Twitch, there's a lot of streamers, for example, that will have gambling streams where they'll literally be playing either blackjack at an online casino, or they'll be playing like a slots type video game, or they'll be unboxing Counter-Strike cases, and they'll have a lot of young people potentially in their audiences watching. And I know that Twitch, for example, if a streamer is promoting a product, then they have to make it clear that it's a promotional stream. But there isn't much, to my understanding, in the ways of responsibilities on the streamer, for example, to kind of, in the way that you might see a, you know, please gamble responsibly advert at the end of an advert on television. There isn't much onus on a streamer, for example, to kind of make it clear to their audience that this isn't necessarily something that people should engage in recklessly. Have any of you ever come across, whether it's, you know, like gambling or any other kind of age-restricted type content that you normally wouldn't expect to kind of either participate in or see until you're at least 18 years of age? And if so, how did it make you feel? And do you think that the platform maybe should have done something more to protect you from that kind of content? Or do you find that you're able to kind of navigate that stuff perfectly fine on your own?
I personally haven't seen it, but going off what you've said, I think I'd like to think that the streamer would have more about them than to just, if they are aware that their audience is younger, I think I'd like to think that they'd think to say, hey, this is gambling, be careful, this is gambling, and if you're younger you shouldn't be doing this. But also, in that respect, I know that's in an ideal world, and I know that not everybody works like that. So I think in the same respect, it's up to platforms like Twitch and any sort of streaming platform to sort of put pressure and sort of flag it up as gambling, or like if I know a lot of places have sort of like a 3 strikes and you're out kind of system, and I think that's another thing. I don't know whether Twitch does that. I don't use it regularly enough, but I think, or maybe if they're promoting something, to say, or to have the people who want their stuff promoting to say, hey, this is considered as gambling, please flag that up, and like some sort of along those lines. I think either the platform, the person, or the advertiser are the ones that need to be responsible enough to flag up their own, and I'm talking about the gambling side of things, to be fair, but to flag up their own sort of I've forgotten the word, but their own like stuff.
Yeah, to enforce their own terms.
Can I ask? I mean, it sounds to me that you have no expectation from a government body or kind of a watchdog. You're talking about the streamer, the platform, or whatever. So how are you thinking? Is that the same with all of you? That you're thinking, well, you know, it's up to the platforms, or do you have expectations from the government in whichever country? I mean, the UK government, that there's a watchdog, because there are several issues also to do with bullying and disinformation, grooming, you know, all these kind of issues. And so I'm just wondering, what kind of expectations do you have from the government, if any of you have any expectations besides the corporate side of things, the platforms?
Personally, I haven't really seen any age-restricted content, but I do know that loot boxes are a problem, especially both in terms of both on both the corporate side and government side of things, because loot boxes can be considered as gambling by some people. And I was listening to this podcast quite a while ago about how loot boxes encourage children to gamble, and I do think that there needs to be more regulation both on the corporate side and on the government side to classify loot boxes as gambling, and there needs to be greater regulation to prevent children from these from being loot boxes, as they can be considered a gateway into gambling, and people from quite a young age are watching these unboxing videos of loot boxes. And I just think the government needs to regulate features in games such as loot boxes more.
I absolutely should have said sorry. I absolutely should have said something about the government, to be fair, thinking about it. I think the way that sort of streaming platforms should be treated is the same way that social media platforms should be treated, because I know a lot of social media and a lot of like streaming platforms, you tend to have very similar in sort of the very similar problems in a different way, if that makes sense. So I think it's like with the TikTok content is the same as like Twitch content is just a longer form of TikTok content. If you think about it, they're both video content, and they can both be about gaming, or they can both be about whatever, like just sitting and talking. So I think if they should both be sort of seen as equally as harmful, or could potentially be equally as harmful as one another. So I do think that government regulation is definitely needed in some respects, as like you said about as being like a watchdog and as looking over these like big companies. So
I think it's more up to like the company, because I haven't personally seen any like, you know, over age restricted stuff, because I think like YouTube, for instance, they do put the game underneath the video content the person is streaming, and they'll put like a live on thing, and if you want to press on that video, they will say, oh, you're not old enough for it, you need to be so and so age. So they do have age restrictions on YouTube. I don't know so much about Twitch, but I know that YouTube personally do have the age restricted, because they've put them on most of their videos that are seen as inappropriate or might like troll children or are gambling in and like somebody whose account is on like, you know, they're 12 years old, like they will be put on a list of like, if they press on that video by accident or they're interested in, they won't be allowed to get on it, because it will say, oh, please verify your age, and they'll then need passports and stuff. So I think YouTube are doing their part in protecting the younger sort of people, because they have got a separate thing, which is YouTube Kids, which means children protected from the, you know, the kind of harmful content as some creators do make. But I think it's more up to the, you know, the company than the government, because obviously there is thousands of millions of companies, and YouTube, Twitch, Instagram earn billions of pounds, and the government can only do so much to, you know, stop this excessive amount of stuff going out on the internet, because the internet is so wide and so big that the government can only control a small amount of it, especially if it's like a foreign company. Like, for instance, we live in the UK, so YouTube's an American company, so Boris Johnson can't do anything to help YouTube because it's in a different country. It's up to that country to control YouTube. So yeah.
Well, currently they don't even tax them properly, because we're still waiting for the digital tax. Let's see what happens there. Yeah.
Ahmed's been raising a hand for a while. What did you
I kind of it sounds a bit pessimistic, but I feel like I've lost some faith in the government. Like, yeah, I have laws that protect me, but there's like so many different ways and gaps that people can go through and manipulate those laws. But like the actual act of even getting a law takes a while, and I think a couple of months ago there was this thing with TikTok, and I think it was mainly based around American kids that were underage. But neither did the US government acknowledge this, and like neither did our government be concerned about this. And I don't feel like I have the assurance that the government is looking out for me and making sure that the internet and gaming as well is a safe place.
Brian? Are you raising your hand?
Matt, yeah. Hi, everybody. I've been listening to you there, and I apologize if I missed some of it while I was on the phone. But just listening to you, and you're talking about the government now, and when myself and Matt graduated high school, our biggest complaint about our education was that we didn't know how to do banking. I don't know how to do taxes, you know. And there's a layer of stuff for you guys that I'm so glad I missed. You know, cyberbullying, social media, pornography, online gaming, online gambling, you know, streaming, all these pressures. And I'm in Scandinavia. I'm from Ireland originally, but in Scandinavia it's very progressive, and in Finland they have, you know, media literacy. And as you know, Brexit happened, and I'm sure most of you are Remainers because you're younger, and that was built on the tabloids making up lies and politicians lying, and that's media literacy. So on all those issues, you know, everything about online, the media and everything, do you feel that your schools deliver any sort of education or are capable of informing you or providing these skills that may be beyond your parents' ability to, well, talk about? And do your teachers actually, are they able to provide any sort of support on these stuff that myself and Matt didn't have to deal with?
I think yes and no, if I'm being honest. I know I've had multiple conversations with my school about like cyberbullying is a big one, and it's like we've talked about it, and our school doesn't really have many issues with bullying, thankfully. But when we've had those discussions, our biggest issues have been cyberbullying. And when I was cyberbullied, it was all anonymous. It was all completely, and I still to this day have no idea who did it to me. And when I only came out about it 2 years after it actually happened, because in that time I didn't feel like I could go to anyone within the school, because what the hell could they do? They couldn't do anything. The best thing they could do was block and report them, which I'd already done. And I think in that respect, the teachers' hands are completely bound, and it's up to these big social media companies that to do better, really. But also, things aren't going to get taken down that only have three reports. I don't know, because I know I asked a couple of my friends, but that's not going to be big enough to be brought to the social media companies' attention. Which I think there needs to be some sort of better system. But then again, it's such a hard thing, and in that respect, I think schools can't do much other than to tell us how to be safe online and to tell us about cyberbullying and make us aware. When it comes to the actual platform itself, I think schools have their hands tied a bit. But in respects to like other things, like banking and like doing your taxes, I think schools have a great opportunity. And honestly, I don't see why schools aren't doing it, because I know in my school we never got taught that, and in my sixth form, I don't think we are going to get taught that, and I can't see why that doesn't happen. I don't know about other schools.
I know that in the last few weeks of me being at school, so obviously I finished school because in year 11, they did do a few taxing, lessons, and obviously I don't think children found them very interesting, but I mean I personally found them very interesting, but it depends what kind of person you are. But bringing back what Isabel said, I do think that it's not really up to the school to like protect the children from social media. There needs to be like the bigger companies, job to it needs to be the company's job to protect people on social media, because they've made the social media platform, so they need to be the person that protects people on social media, because the school will only protect you when you're in the school grounds. So whatever you do outside the school grounds is not, well, they will play a part in it, but they're not going to, when you leave school, they're not going to be, still in touch with you, like, oh, how are you getting on? Because what the school is only there to protect you when you're attending the school. So I don't think it's up to the school. I think it's, again, agreeing with Isabel, I think it's up to, the social media company to do more to protect people. And again, the government to maybe do like a little bit more to protect people in the country that they obviously run from, places that, like America, obviously, they did the TikTok thing, and I don't think the government helped a lot with that either, so, yeah.
I think with teachers informing people about cyberbullying, they can actually prevent the growth of further trolls in the future, because if we as young adults know how it feels for the victim to get bullied, we might not want other people put in that situation just because of what we say to them online. So I think if the teachers keep informing students of how the victim might feel, we could potentially have social media, prevent cyberbullying a lot more.
I definitely agree with everything that was said. And although schools can do some things, such as putting the posters up, doing your PSHE lessons about bullying, cyberbullying, online gaming in general, I think it is down to the platform and the government to put in these regulations. And I know as a platform, Facebook as an example, through the Diana Award, I was able to be in a Zoom call with Facebook, and they asked young people such as myself, what can we do better? We all spoke about all these ideas, and they did implement features based on our suggestions. I think other large-scale platforms should do the exact same thing, because when you got these high-profile 20, 30-year-olds all talking about the platform, that's absolutely fine to have their opinion, but ultimately it's the new generation that's going to be using this platform for longer and longer. So why aren't they having these annual calls with young people to see what they think, what improvements they think should be implemented to make their experience with social media, gaming even better? And I think that's the downfall of their platforms. They don't get enough opinions from a variety of people to really be able to make that change that we want to see.
Can I just add something? I think if I'm being brutally honest, I think there needs to be some sort of fresh face in government. And I'm not dissing the government, but also I think a lot of the people high up in the government haven't grown up with social media, and it's all relatively new to them. And in that respect, I think there needs to be some level of people. But then again, those generations are still young, so I can see why they're not there right now. But also, I think there needs to be those people coming up to power, to some level of power, have grown up with social media and have had that sort of awareness of social media. And I think it's like, I know Paige was saying about having that call, because I think I was on that call too. I can't remember. And I think it's having those people who have grown up with social media and have a better understanding of social media that will then make the change to make social media a nicer place for everyone in that respect. So
leading on from that, I think that social media, like people can, on the bad side, they can obviously get away with quite a lot. And I think another one, like it's not really a gaming site, but it's obviously like quite new and it's obviously quite popular. It's called Snapchat, and people it's quite dangerous, because people can send stuff, and I got sent a picture. It was very inappropriate, and obviously I reported it to my school, but the school couldn't do much because it was on a different website, and they couldn't like say, oh yeah, they could phone the police and all, but the police can't do anything about it because it's obviously on a site that they don't control. And as much as they can get into these websites and see where maybe they could go in, but that would be like a really, really long process. And I think that Snapchat and places like that should kind of like control what goes out, because if that had been a younger person, that would have really like affected their mental health, and I just don't think it was appropriate. And plus it was from a website that got onto Snapchat for some reason, hacked the system or something, got onto it and gone onto people's profiles without even like requesting to get into their Snapchat profile, which I think is quite alarming, because people can just come in and come and go as they want and just be like really anonymous, and that way the people aren't getting punished. So I think that like these websites should, like, as much as the government can't do anything about these websites because it's a bigger scale thing again, because the World Wide Web is very big, but I think that again the social media platforms should be controlling what people are posting, what people are sharing, because a lot of people are just again going around just sharing these inappropriate images, and they get they don't even get told off for it. It's a free for all. They get to post whatever they want.
Going on about Snapchat, from personal experience, I think so. I think Snapchat is the most dangerous social media, for the pure reason that things get deleted as soon as you swipe away from them. So it's really hard to get evidence. And on top of that, it's great that it tells the other person that you're taking a screenshot, but when you're trying to gather this sort of evidence, it can sort of elicit more negative behaviour towards you, if that makes sense. Like, I remember I was trying to screenshot something and that someone had said to me, and it only sort of triggered them to carry on, sort of double down on it, I guess, because they could clearly see that I was trying to do something about it, which is a bit ridiculous if you think about it, but I think that is the danger of Snapchat, and it's the fact that it's really hard to gather evidence, I guess, is what makes Snapchat dangerous.
Well, I think the solution is to take a photo with another phone of the Snapchat. But in terms of social media platforms, the reason they're free is because you are the revenue, because of your details and your browsing habits for advertisers and gambling companies and various exploitive companies. With your generation, is there an awareness of the exploitation of your data and who you are? Or do people blindly go, I don't care, it's free? What's going on? Armin?
So I think it was last year, around November, something came on Netflix about social media, and I was just like, let's try it. And I thought it was gonna mainly focus on mental health, but it carried on about how ads are tailored to you and how that process to keep you in, it's just made to profit off you. And the person that was talking about how people have a lack of awareness of this, and I can honestly say that I never knew about that before, like that whole 1 hour documentary that like changed my whole perspective on it. So yeah.
We're rapidly running out of time, and which is a shame, because this discussion with all of you is so incredibly important. I think a good way to end this session would be maybe if each and every one of you, part of the Diana Award, could kind of say, what would be your takeaway statement if you were to kind of have a chance to be heard by an adult, either in government or in school, or in charge of any of these platforms, and this was your opportunity to kind of say one thing that you would like to be heard about. What do you think that it is that, what message would you like to sort of share? What's important and what matters to you that you think adults or teachers or educators or politicians might not be listening to and need to really kind of get across?
I would say, like, look after the people that are on it. Just look after the people that are on it, because all these big companies, they only care about money. So I think that the main point of it is just look after the people that are using the social media and treat them as real people instead of just numbers on a screen.
Would also like.
I'd say. Sorry.
Yeah, I would say go on. I would say that you're responsible for me and like a billion other people like me. So you're responsible for my mental health and the way I turn out, yeah, and you're responsible for like my attitudes towards people, like certainly to some extent, and you obviously influence some of my life to some extent.
I would say if you get the education of younger generations about social media right, then it will make it a lot easier to educate upcoming generations. And I know it's the Downward tagline, but I think it's those young people that will then go on to educate further and make these social media platforms that are just only going to grow from here a safer place for everyone, really.
I would say to make sure that everyone who's on social media or games feels safe, because we might be the young generation now, but we are the future adults, and the economy is gonna run by years in the future. So it'll be a good start to have everyone in good mental health for the future.
Adam, do you want to? I know you've got your hand up. Do you want to go, and then I'll go after you?
Yes, I'd say more needs to be done in general to keep us safe and keep our data safe, especially as we go into a more technologically advanced society where artificial intelligence is playing a bigger part in our lives. And I feel that not enough is being done currently to protect us or our data.
I think, can you hear me? Yeah, there we go. There. I think my last thing to say would definitely be a question, and that would be, where is the accountability? Because is it the platform? Is it the government? Is it the person saying these negative things or posting the negative things? Because the platform can blame the person saying them. The person saying them could blame the platform for not stopping them, but then the platform's not got enough funding from the government. So it's a huge circle. But without that accountability, who do we blame? Like, how do we move forward? I think that would be the question I would ask.
I think where's the accountability could probably be the quote of the symposium. Well done. Susanna and Josephine, is there anything you wanted to cap off as representatives for the Diana Award?
No, I think I'm very happy to leave it with that. They were some great closing remarks.
Okay. Well, just in case you weren't aware, this symposium in its entirety is being recorded. If any of you don't consent to being recorded, please let either Susanna or Josephine know, who can then let me know, and I can make sure that we can censor you out or blur you or something. But also, if you could let either of them know whether you consent or don't consent to us sharing like an image of this room with all of you into social media as part of like promoting the conference, that would also be helpful, because again, we don't want to share any images without your consent. We won't share your names or anything like that. It would just be like a screenshot of this screen. So if you don't consent to that, please let us know before we post it. That would be appreciated. But just wanted to say, on behalf of myself and Athena and everyone else that's been involved with the symposium, we've really appreciated your time and your input, and we're certainly going to be taking your recommendations and your suggestions forward in terms of what we do as academics and how we interface with the platforms and the industry leaders. Is there anything else you wanted to add to that, Athena?
No, I want to say how impressed I am that all this thinking has gone through about this, and I expect it to be so, because I've been interviewing in the last 6 months children between 9 and 15 and 16 to 18, and I can see there's incredible ideas, and you're right, you are the future, and we need to do more on all accounts of what you're describing, also in academia as well, of how we make recommendations and policy recommendations, especially in this environment. Yeah, thank you.
So we've got
Can I just say, I was going to take lunch because I'm an hour ahead in Sweden.
Yeah.
I skipped this, and then I started listening to you all, so I missed lunch. So I have to have lunch now because
we
you
all
provided such good content.
Now. Yeah.
Yeah, but well done. I mean, you kept me here. Thank you very much for what you were talking about.